From a massive tornado in Colorado that crossed the road in front of this driver, and a reckless employee who flipped his lumber truck while drunk on the job, to a brick delivery in China that wound up falling into a gaping sinkhole, and a DIY fireworks show in Iceland that almost ended in catastrophe. Here are 10 of the most unbelievable road moments caught on camera. Middlebury, Vermont is a small town in Addison County. It's home to over 9,000 people who aren't used to standstill traffic in the downtown area. But on December 31st of 2019, all of Main Street ground to a halt during one of the strangest traffic jams ever.
Oh, it's funny. How the fuck do you do this? How the fuck do you do this? Oh, that's funny. The fucking guy's still going! Somebody's gonna lose their job. I would just keep going too. They're like, I think the truck went this way. Everybody's like, oh, what do we do? That is just hilarious. That guy's calling it in.
Jordan and Joey were out for a New Year's Eve drive when they spotted a cattle trailer driving down Main Street. Unfortunately, the farmer must have forgotten to lock the latch, leading to Middlebury's first annual running of the dairy cows. According to reports, the cows wound up meandering through parking lots and people's yards. Luckily, several farmhands were nearby and wrangled the cows before any got lost or hurt. They were loaded back in the trailer, and the driver made sure the latch was shut. Everyone knows the dangers of drinking and driving. You're a risk to yourself and everyone else on the road. This Russian truck driver didn't seem to care when he took his lumber truck for a joyride in 2015. He was heading through Obukovo, a district near Moscow. The man behind him kept his camera rolling as our drunken logger was all over the road. It wasn't long before gravity kicked in and his logs returned to the forest.
Есть, блядь. Оба-на, вот это кадр, блядь.
This trucker was doomed from the start. First, his swaying logs threw off his center of gravity. Second, his counter steers only made things worse. Finally, his drunken state slowed his reaction time, which was like the cherry on top of a bad situation. You can see him stopped up ahead once the dust settles. Thankfully, everyone in the oncoming lane avoided this maniac and drove away safely. We imagine he had a hard time explaining this mess to his boss, let alone the police. On New Year's Eve of 2017, locals in Vesterberg, Iceland learned why you should leave fireworks shows to the professionals. They gathered in their small neighborhood to set off a cake firework, which is basically a multi-shot aerial firework. They could see the professional show going off in the distance and wanted to bring it closer to home. Unfortunately, they got a little too close. Instead of firing multiple shots into the air, the entire cake exploded in the street. Had it happened in the sky, it would have been a spectacular grand finale. Thankfully, everyone was okay. They were wearing protective goggles, and our cameraman was able to hide with his 9-year-old daughter. He said they could feel the shockwaves hitting the Jeep they took cover behind. Ultimately, the only damage was to the man's jacket who lit the fireworks. His sleeve was burned, but the thickness kept his arm safe. Fireworks are generally illegal in Iceland. However, you can buy them on New Year's Eve if you go through IceSAR, or the Icelandic Association for Search and Rescue. You tell them, hey, I want to set off some fireworks, and they're like, cool, we'll know where to find you if something goes wrong. Kruger National Park is a 7,500 square mile reserve in South Africa. It's among the largest game reservations in the country, with wildlife ranging from zebras and giraffes to lions, crocodiles, and white rhinos. But the biggest of them all is the African elephant. On February 28th of 2010, a tour group discovered how scary elephants can be. They were driving through the national park when a herd crossed in front of them. Several breeding males were among the herd, watching over the females and their babies. One of those males had a bone to pick with the safari car.
Back away. Go on. Hey! Hey, back away! Back away. Back off. Hey! 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 You're not funny. Hey! You're not funny. Hey! Hey!
For a moment, it looked like the elephant was backing down, but he wasn't done yet. He was just going to grab some backup.
Hey! Hey! Back off, you! Hey! Back off! Why you?
Now you might be thinking, just gun it, but they can't. They stumbled upon a massive herd of breeding elephants crossing the road, and driving toward them might prompt an attack. All our safari car could do was stand its ground and hope for the best. After one last bluff charge, the tour group saw their opening and took it.
Back off! Hey! Back off! Hey! 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 Any more on the left, Brian? I don't think so. Now let me get a little bit away.
Thankfully, everyone made it out unharmed and with an amazing story to tell. They're lucky the elephant only hit them with bluff charges. It could have easily tipped their safari car if it wanted to. While they're normally docile creatures, breeding males and protective females will attack if they feel threatened. Back in 2018, a 40-year-old Sacramento man named Jose was caught on camera by several bystanders during one of the strangest road rage incidents you'll ever see. The date was June 4th. While driving his white Chevrolet Trailblazer, Jose got into an altercation on Interstate 80. He tailed a Ford Fiesta off the highway and then followed them into a residential area. He rammed the Fiesta several times before turning his rage on other cars. A black Honda in the middle of the road caught the brunt of his anger management problems. Thankfully, nobody was in the black Honda when Jose rammed into it. Judging by the damage to both cars, this wasn't the first time he had hit the Honda, but it would be the last. His bumper got stuck in the side, preventing Jose from backing up and trying again. Jose wasn't going anywhere. His car was totaled, and he was surrounded by witnesses. All he could do now was give them a show. He climbed from his driver's side window, hopped onto the black Honda, and started kicking like an angry soccer player. The fire department arrived before the police. All they could do was stand there and make sure Jose didn't leave. Everyone knew they were dealing with a volatile man who was likely high on drugs. It was a delicate situation that had all of them on edge. Officers finally arrive about 6 minutes after the crash. By then, Jose was jumping on the Honda's roof, trying to break through it. Police swarmed the scene, but waited for Jose to get down on his own. He went for one last kick, tripped, and fell into their waiting arms. Jose was arrested and taken to the local hospital to treat some minor injuries. There, doctors learned he was under the influence of several narcotics. He was ultimately charged with multiple crimes and held on $50,000 bail. It's still unclear what sparked the incident on I-80 in the first place. Yuncheng, China is a prefecture-level city in Shanxi province. It's home to about 4.7 million people, of which nearly 1 million live in the metro area. Now that's a lot of people, cars, and trucks moving over the streets every day. One was bound to collapse eventually. On October 6th of 2020, a truck driver arrived for a routine delivery. He was carrying a load of bricks, which only made his truck heavier than it needed to be. Unfortunately, he parked his heavy truck and cargo over a weak portion of the road. Thankfully, the driver was safe in the cab when his rear fell in. He climbed out and jumped to safety as a crowd gathered around his truck. Aftermath footage shows what the sinkhole looked like below the truck. It makes you wonder how it even got so bad. The soil beneath the truck weakened and eroded over time. If this driver didn't fall through, the next person surely would have. It looks like multiple brick deliveries had been made that day. This poor driver simply pulled the short straw. Colorado is no stranger to severe weather, especially tornadoes. On average, 53 twisters touch down every year, with 90% occurring between May and August. While tornadoes have struck all over the state, most hit east of I-25, where heat and lower atmosphere moisture are abundant. On June 7th of 2021, one of those storms touched down out of nowhere. Ashley and her boyfriend were driving through Weld County, a cluster of towns east of I-25. The clouds darkened, lightning struck, and the rain began falling. Then, without warning, this monster tornado touched down right in front of them.
Nature at its finest. And again, no sirens, no warning. Had a weather alert warning about 3 minutes after it had been on the ground. Absolutely beautiful. free path is still a good half mile. Just stay here. Oh!
Ashley was lucky they hadn't gotten any closer. According to the National Weather Service, this storm reached EF2 intensity. It tracked a 7-mile path from Firestone, Colorado, across Highway 66 and toward the South Platte River. Ashley happened to catch the storm as it crossed 66. She and everyone else could tell it wasn't stopping soon. Thankfully, nobody got hurt during the storm, even as winds topped 122 miles per hour. A home along 66 did catch fire after some power lines fell nearby, and a dairy farmer lost his roof. Our camerawoman said there were no sirens or warnings before the tornado. They only got a mobile weather alert warning about 3 minutes after the storm touched down. But by then, it was pretty obvious. Tinker Air Force Base is a military installation in Oklahoma City. It has been in operation since the 1940s and supplied half the C-47 Skytrains used in World War II. Tinker is also famous for making the first successful tornado forecast in history in March of 1948. They have a storied reputation they'd like to uphold. On April 25th of 2020, Oklahoma State Trooper Walter Jack watched 3 motorcycles fly by his squad car. They were going 80 miles per hour in a 70 mile per hour zone, enough for Trooper Jack to initiate a stop. But these bikers didn't plan on pulling over. At least, not before taking Jack on a high-speed chase through Oklahoma County.
Yeah, they're northbound at the 27 right now. There's gonna be 2 of them.
Yep, you read that right. Trooper Jack clocked their bikes at 183 miles per hour. We're not even sure if his squad car can go that fast. Regardless, he stepped on the gas and tried to close the gap. If these guys didn't hurt themselves, they were bound to hurt someone else.
Pull over! Pull over! Pull over! Ardmore, I got one stop here at the 31. Go get on the ground! Get down on the ground! I will shoot you! Get on the ground!
Traffic grew heavier, allowing Trooper Jack to catch up with the bikers. One of them wisely pulled over, and Jack learned where they came from. All 3 men were airmen at Tinker Air Force Base. They were out on leave and decided to take their bikes for a joyride. Airman Mike Workman caught the brunt of it. He tried to explain they were military men, but that didn't matter to Trooper Jack.
Shut up! I don't want to hear it! You made me do this out here in the middle of nowhere! Because you don't want to stop! You just got a ticket! You almost killed people out here! You just would have just got a ticket! Then you almost kill yourself!
There were 3 bikers in all. One got away, but the police eventually caught up with him. The third, who didn't run from Trooper Jack, arrived at the scene of Mike's arrest. He was issued a traffic ticket while Mike was hauled off to the station. In the end, Mike was charged with a long list of felonies punishable by up to 5 years in jail. The Air Force agreed to handle the discipline if the state of Oklahoma dropped the charges. We assume Mike was on latrine cleaning duty for the next several months. Montville, Ohio is a small town in Medina County. It's home to about 13,000 people, including a bus driver who was in for an extremely close call. He and his busload of kids saw their lives flash before their eyes. It was April 19th of 2022. Someone called the Medina County Sheriff's Department about a truck driver who was steering his 80,000-pound machine like a maniac. He had just blown past a school bus, narrowly avoiding a massive collision. Here's what that looked like from the truck driver's perspective. Now, you might think this guy has lost it. but you don't know the whole story. When the police found him later, they learned that his brakes had failed while driving downhill. He saw the school bus stop up ahead and laid on his horn, praying for a miracle. At the last second, he threaded the needle, avoiding what would have been a horrible collision. Cameras inside the bus recorded how bad it could have been.
Oh, good God, he ain't gonna make it. Hurry up and go. Ooh, gosh, see what I mean? Oh my God. What was that? You don't want to know.
Should I call it?
Idiot. Yeah.
Luckily, the only damage was to the white SUV after the pickup truck backed into them. While nobody likes dents and scratches, it beats getting crushed by an out-of-control dump truck. The driver was able to stop about a quarter mile up the road. At first, he was panned as a crazy person. Once everyone learned the truth, they hailed him as a hero for saving everyone's life. Ain't it funny how one fact can completely change your perception of a story? Now, brake failure is every truck driver's worst nightmare. Thankfully, special exit ramps are built along the highway to handle these situations. They're called runaway ramps, and they do exactly what the name suggests. They stop runaway trucks. On May 24th of 2017, Mexican police officers caught up with a truck driver who had lost his brakes. He was speeding over 100 miles per hour down the highway, weaving in and out of traffic, and desperately trying to avoid an accident. They knew there was a runaway ramp at the bottom of the hill. The hard part was making it there safely.
Va agarrando aire.
For a second, it looked like the truck was slowing down. Unfortunately, he had enough speed to make it over the hill. It was literally all downhill from there. The harrowing chase continued for several miles. Our truck driver had to make one last move around a bus before setting his sights on the runaway ramp. He had never wanted to crash his truck so badly.
Capufe. Ciérramelo. La 39, ciérrame todo.
Thankfully, the driver escaped the crash unharmed. His cargo may have spilled all over the road, but at least he was okay. You can even see him starting to exit the vehicle before the video cuts out. If that runaway ramp weren't there, who knows how this would have turned out. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. As always, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.